they can protect their peace at their own house.
Let that man be fat.
So this is the positive representation that they're fighting for. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am so excited to have you all back here with me again this week for another video. If you're new here and this is the first time you are seeing my face, welcome. My name is Sam and I make weekly videos dissecting internet nonsense, so if you like that kind of thing, or today's video, I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing because it really helps out the channel and make sure you never miss another upload from me. Okay, now that you've helped me please the algorithm gods by liking this video, let's go ahead and get on into it, because today I'm really hoping to just have a pretty lighthearted good time so that we can wrap up the holiday seasons and kind of leave that period of stress behind. Yeah, you know, the holidays, the time where joy and cheer meet stress and exhaustion and wondering if it's okay to eat a third slice of pie at 2 a.m. I know you have all been there. I, like most of you, am still in recovery mode. There's just something about seeing family, continuing to work your normal schedule, and pretending you know how to wrap presents that can really take it out of you. Somewhere in the midst of all of this holiday hullabaloo that we've been through, I still managed to stumble across a couple of fat activists giving some pretty questionable advice on how to survive the holidays, but also very passionately defending Santa's fatness. You heard me right. We are about to get into it. Let's wrap these holidays up together, shall we? First, let's check in with Marissa Matthews, who is about to give some of the worst therapy speak advice on how to navigate family relationships during the holiday.
Hi there, just a friendly reminder that you're allowed to tell your rude aunt who keeps on commenting on your weight to fuck off. You're allowed to do that. You really are. You're allowed to set boundaries. You're allowed to tell them to be quiet and to stop commenting on your body. Because it's the holiday season and we all have to deal with stupid people like that, unfortunately. You're allowed to tell them to F off and you're allowed to set boundaries, and it's okay. You don't have to feel bad about it because you're protecting your own peace. Have a good day.
If you want to get technical, Marissa's not actually wrong. You can attend your family holiday dinner and tell all of your aunts and uncles to shut up and not comment on your body. And you can even do it with the amount of condescension that Marissa has. It's totally your prerogative. But the thing that seems to be missing here is that unlike social media or some Christmas rom-com, you're not going to get a slow clap and a triumphant soundtrack as you walk away, right after you've had your mic drop clap back moment. That's not going to happen because this is real life, and burning bridges over mashed potatoes and making everyone's holiday awkward is not really a great way to protect your peace, as Marissa says. But for as bad as this advice is, it's about to get much, much worse when we visit J-Bay.
This time, we're taking those holiday comments and turning them into straight-up clapbacks. If you thought my last video was nice, get ready for me to tell it like it really is. So let's get into those ridiculous questions and serve up some truth. No filter.
If anyone says this, do you really think a person your size should be eating that? You should say something like,
Oh, honey, of course I'm eating this. Food has no moral value, and I'm gonna eat what I want when I want. You worrying about my plate? That's your problem, not mine. How about you mind your own business and let me enjoy my damn meal?
if anyone says this, looks like you've gained weight since I last saw you. What happened? You should say something like,
Oh, my weight? Really? Why does that concern you? It's none of your damn business. Honestly, comments like that are gross. Go touch grass, Karen, and leave my body out of it.
if anyone says this, are you sure you want to wear that? It's not very flattering for someone your size. You should say something like,
Oh, sweetie, what's really not flattering is your outdated opinion. I'm wearing what I want, and honestly, your opinion is completely irrelevant. Maybe you should spend less time worrying about my clothes and more time figuring out how to mind your own business. So, just a reminder this holiday season from your favorite fat activist. Nobody has the right to disrespect you, family or not. Your body, your choices, your life. And sometimes you've got to tell a person to kick rocks and keep it moving. Protect your peace and don't let anyone ruin your vibe.
Congratulations! We've all just graduated from a masterclass in how not to handle family conversations over holiday dinner. The way that this video is just dripping in condescension really, really hit me, and honestly, I cannot with the patronizing titles, calling people sweetie or honey or the ever popular Karen, right? It's just dripping with condescension. But also somewhere in there, she said something about telling your family members to go touch grass. And that is a choice, because when you think about this in real life context, once again, most of the older people who are likely to make the comments that J-Bay is concerned about, they're not going to be chronically online and they're not going to know what that means. So once again, we have just witnessed some terrible advice that is going to leave everyone sitting at a holiday dinner in awkward silence with some potential side eyes over the cranberry sauce. And just when I thought I'd seen it all, enter one last video created by a male fat activist. You heard me right. They do exist. I have found one, and he is apparently trying to one-up the bad holiday advice game.
Here's another tip for surviving Thanksgiving with your fat-phobic family. Count their drinks and be loud about it, because no one loves being told they're an alcoholic more than your alcoholic aunt and uncle.
So I understand his advice is to make the dinner even more awkward throughout by counting people's alcoholic beverage count out loud. He gave even more advice, and it's just as good.
So Thanksgiving's coming up, right? And, family members are prone to say shit about your eating habits. So here's my tip. Here's my hot fat guy tip for what to say to people at Thanksgiving if they comment on your food. Fuck you. I'm gonna eat it. That's all.
I want to pause for a second because, this is just such bad advice. And I want to believe that every single one of these people know that this is really bad advice. It's not going to do anything except blow things out of proportion and, again, ruin everyone's dinner. If any of these people were my family and came to my family dinner and said these things in order to protect their peace, they're not going to be invited in the future. They can protect their peace at their own house. Also, just because I feel like it's relevant, I also found some fat activist thinfluencers who were encouraging this kind of boundary setting behavior. I cannot, with these health at every size thinfluencers, always encouraging such bad behavior. And to be fair to her, she was not directly responding to any of their videos, but it was funny that I found them under the same tag, because clearly the people who posted these are likely to see posts like that, encouraging them to tell their aunt to F off or to count their alcoholic beverages out loud. They just exist in the same space. So anyway, all of this actually ties, for me, into the larger issue at hand, and that is the issue of therapy speak. Therapy speak is defined as the incorrect use of psychology jargon, especially related to mental health. I've also seen it referred to as psychobabble and buzzwords. And I feel like that accurately describes these videos, right? Because there were definitely buzzwords that existed within them or within their captions. And I'm curious to know if you flagged any of them. Go ahead and type those in the comment section. The two that I flagged were setting boundaries and protecting my peace. But the problem is, even though those are the concepts they're talking about, they have completely misrepresented them in favor of their own self-serving mic drop moments at their holiday dinners. According to most literature I reviewed, setting boundaries is supposed to be about creating a space where you can feel safe and respected while also showing care for the other person. It's often described as a way to establish and maintain healthy relationships, and even though it's true that boundaries need to be established assertively, respect is always the key component. The advice given in these videos miss this completely, and again, just let us know that this is therapy speak. They don't actually understand the concepts of setting boundaries or protecting peace, right? That much is evident. By telling people that they should insult their family members, tell them to F off, tell them to touch grass, or even count their alcoholic beverages out loud, they're not solving any of the underlying problems, and they're not creating a space of respect and mutual understanding. Instead, what this advice does is it creates a lot more animosity and can damage relationships. So rather than looking at those underlying issues and working to solve them, it's replacing one stressor with another. And again, I have zero understanding how that protects anyone's peace, because all of this advice was given to protect your peace. Seems like we're going to do the opposite here. Before I continue to ramble, because I could talk about family politics all day as someone who has a gigantic family, family drama is not the only thing that was top of mind for fat activists this holiday season. No, there was an even bigger issue at hand, and that has to do with Santa's fatness. You heard me correct. Fat activists want Ozempic to leave Santa alone. I just cannot with this conversation, and I probably ruined my own algorithm just by briefly mentioning it in my previous video about Virgie Tovar. In case you missed it, she was also posting on her Instagram about how Santa, the only positive fat representation we have, has been ruined by the buff Santa in the new Red One movie. After I made that discovery of her post, I started getting more posts that let me know that Virgie was not the only person who was angry about buff Santa.
We are really down bad in skinny culture, because why are y'all making Santa Claus skinny? Like, why is Red One, like, Santa Claus in Red One, like, fit and, like, slim? Why did I see a Best Buy commercial and Santa Claus was, like, this, like, handsome, skinny fit guy? Santa Claus is fat. He's always been fat. He eats, like, 1 billion cookies every Christmas. Let that man be fat.
There is so much to address in this video, but hold on, because there is more.
Guys, what are your thoughts? I am so sick of, and I'm a Christmas guy, and I love everything Christmas. I love the music, I love the kinship, I love the food, the family, the friendship. Yuletide, love it. One thing I can't get behind is this idea of a Santa that's not fat. Why are we doing this? Why am I seeing commercials and movies of Santas that are like GQ? No. Let Santa be fat. It makes him so relatable, you know? Like, it takes away so much of the magic if he's like jacked with a six-pack. Whose idea was this? We're giving him milk and cookies. We're not giving him protein shakes and kale chips. I just can't get behind it. I just can't. Santa needs to be fat. Hashtag Santa needs to be fat. Tell me your thoughts.
So it appears the main issue tends to be with the Red One movie, again, where Santa has been made buff. But also, as we've just heard, there were companies making commercials where Santa was either fit or handsome or buff, and they really have a problem with that. I have so many thoughts about this, and I am just hoping I can make them coherent for you. Here we go. First, let's talk about the Red One movie, because that got right under their skin, didn't it? If you've not heard of Red One, it is a new action comedy Christmas movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, J.K. Simmons, and Chris Evans. That's right, Captain America. And I know I asked this in my Virgie video, but did anyone seriously think that The Rock was just going to be hanging out with any old regular Santa Claus? That guy has muscles for days, and when I see him cast in a movie, I expect it to be some over-the-top, funny, like, boys will be boys action movie, right? Not that I don't love those movies, but that's what I expect, and I feel like everyone should kind of know that by now. Maybe that's just a me thing. You'll have to let me know. But again, he's got muscles for days. What did we expect Santa to look like? And I know you all loved this question that I posed in that last video as well, but look at these freaking snowmen that they have to fight, okay? The snowmen are as caked up can be. They've got muscles for days. They look like bodybuilders made out of snow, okay? And I didn't see Virgie and her friends getting mad and protecting the fluffy, round snowmen we've all come to know and love. No, their only issue was with Santa. I think I just genuinely don't understand the outrage, because Santa is Santa, and it doesn't matter how many Christmas movies you watch, he's different in every single one, and his weight, his height, his physique, his look changes in every single one. We've had tall Santa, short claymation Santas, a buff carpenter Santa, a drunk Santa, and just about everything in between. And I guess for me, it's also interesting that they're claiming Santa as their only positive fat representation, because when you think about him in movies, I'm going to use one of my favorites, the Santa Claus, as an example. It doesn't seem to be the most positive representation of fatness, right? When Tim Allen's character begins to gain weight inexplicably, he goes to the doctor's office where he does a running stress test. He shakes his belly like a bowl full of jelly in front of his doctor. And then he's also seen in a work meeting overeating junk foods and sweets. So this is the positive representation that they're fighting for. Also, I hear their complaints about these companies using thin and buff Santas in their commercials. But here's a thought that I'm having, especially as I'm talking about the Santa Claus, okay? The Santa Claus was Tim Allen in a fat suit. One of fat activists' biggest claims to fame over the last few years, one of their biggest arguments, is that they don't want to see thin people in fat suits. So now, once again, we're seeing the arbitrary nature of their arguments and the way that they often contradict each other or themselves, right? They want this positive fat representation because they've had it in the past. In the past, it's always been represented by thin people in fat suits. Apparently, we don't have a problem with that because we want Santa to be fat. That is what I hear them saying. But companies can no longer do that without getting chastised for using a fat suit, even if they do so tastefully. So what did they really expect to happen? I guess that's my genuine question. And in this instance, then, are they okay with a thin actor in a fat suit as long as it keeps Santa fat? But here's the argument that they made that really got to me as my little history nerd loving self, okay? And that's their claim that we should leave Santa alone because he's always been fat. I hate to burst a fat activist bubble, but no, he hasn't. Even a brief Google search would show them images of St. Nicholas depicted as an average-sized man. Further, images of Father Christmas and Father Winter and other Santa characters from different European cultures still show him as a thinner man with a large white beard and the elaborate robes that we've all come to know and love. Some of them even show him with a big walking stick wearing animal furs, which would be appropriate if he's living in northern European or Scandinavian countries. There are early poems and literature pieces from this time that describe him as a chubby elf, as well as a book called A History of New York, where author Washington Irving described Santa as a short, stocky Dutch figure. Even though those descriptions exist of him being short and stocky, but also chubby, he's always depicted this early as a very thin person. So when did Santa become fat? The first image of Santa as a jolly fat fellow came from a cartoon designed in 1881 known as Merry Old Santa Claus. The image was created by cartoonist Thomas Mast, and according to Smithsonian Magazine, this image is about more than just Santa with his bag of toys in his red suit. Thomas Mast was a political cartoonist, and this image of Santa is propaganda related to the government's indecisiveness over paying higher wages to members of the military. When you look at the image more closely, the sack isn't full of toys, but is an army backpack from enlisted men. He's holding a military dress sword and belt to represent the army, and has a pocket watch showing the time as 10 till midnight. This was created to show that the U.S. Senate had little time left to give fair wages to the Army and Navy. So Santa was supporting the military as part of Civil War propaganda. Interesting, isn't it? The other place we see Santa depicted as a fat, jolly old man is as part of the Coca-Cola Company. Something they're very proud of, as they have an entire page dedicated to their history with Santa on their website. He's been featured in Coke ads since the 1920s, and the most famous depictions of him were created by artist and illustrator Haddon Sundblom. He got his inspiration from earlier literature that described Santa as a chubby elf, but they wanted to make Santa more realistic and symbolic at the same time. Sundblom ended up painting the likeness of Santa Claus based off of one of his family friends, and then later his own image. What I find most interesting is that in most of these ads, Santa is of course depicted drinking Coke, but sometimes he's depicted raiding refrigerators to eat fried chicken. I have to admit, I was fully unprepared for what I would find researching that. Even though I knew that Santa had not always been fat, I wasn't expecting to prove that he had been Americanized. And finding out the things that I did about how we've come to know Santa, which is mostly through Coca-Cola ads, I find it incredibly interesting that multiple fat activists are riding this train about him being the only positive fat representation that they have in the media. What a hill to die on. Alright, that is all I have for you all today to wrap this holiday season up. And as always, I am just so curious to know what you all think, because this is just as messy as it gets, of course. What do you think about the advice that they're giving about surviving family holidays, especially in the name of protecting your peace and setting boundaries? I am genuinely curious to know. Did you know about therapy speak and that this is what they were doing? Have you seen them use therapy speak in any of their other videos? But most importantly, what do you think about this discourse around Santa? Did you see buff and thin Santas around this holiday season, and did it also make you angry? What do you think about the history of Santa? Again, I knew he wasn't always fat, but I was not prepared for what I found. Did you know that history? If you're from another country, how is Santa represented for you? I am so genuinely curious to know, but I hope you all had fun today, and I hope you'll leave your comments for me. You know I love to read your opinions, so please leave them for me down below. And for all my introvert friends out there who may not feel comfortable leaving your opinions in an internet comment section, I see you. Go ahead and leave me a holiday emoji of your choice. I wanted to say something with wrapping paper so we could play off the wrapping the holiday season, but go ahead and use your favorite holiday emojis and just get it out of your system. Get it out of your system, and then we will revisit this again next year when we wrap that holiday season. As always, thank you all so much for being here with me this week. I will see you in the next one. Bye!